How much do the little things actually affect your police hiring process? Let's discuss. Hey, before we get started, I have 2 gifts in the description for you. One is the Getting Started workshop. It's going to walk you through every phase of the hiring process. Plus, there's some hidden bonuses in there for you. Next is a coaching call with any member of my team, or even myself if you'd like, where we can go over your hiring process, your success, give you the best plan, lay it out for you to make you succeed in your law enforcement career. Now, the little things through the hiring process. Do they matter? I mean, are they really looked at? Are they really going to get you disqualified? And I would love to say no, but little things add up. Sometimes you can't account for human error and someone having a bad day, like your hiring official or your background investigator. And why give them the opportunity if it doesn't need to happen? And here's what I mean by this. I have seen individuals burn good graces with their background investigators or their hiring officials time in and time out. So perfect example is showing up to turn in your PHS or your background packet in jeans, a t-shirt, and sneakers, right? That is a surefire way to get yourself jammed up, right? And I've seen individuals go to do that and immediately get pulled in for an interview, and they're in jeans and a t-shirt, right? It's little things like this that can make individuals not succeed. Showing up to a testing site, right? Whether that be for your fitness test, your written exam, and having some type of violation on your vehicle. Maybe you're supposed to display a front license plate and you don't. Maybe you're not supposed to have tint on the windows and you do. Maybe your registration's expired or you don't have proof of insurance and you're supposed to. And they're going to ask you. I've seen departments ask candidates for this, and then as soon as they show up, they don't have it. They write them a citation and then send them home and say, you're done with the process. It's a multitude of things. Having a less than appropriate username on one of your social medias, right? It's little things along this that can really get in the way of you succeeding. And some of you are probably like, Frank, you're out of your mind. There's no way. Hopefully these things don't affect you. It's just I've seen them affect other individuals. And these are things that are preventable, things that you can control. And a lot of the hiring process is outside of your control. You don't know how the psychological evaluator's going to try to manipulate your words. You don't know if the polygrapher running your polygraph is having a bad day and is just not even tolerating anything that a professional should tolerate, right? You don't know if your background investigator just got thrown into that position because maybe they got in trouble, right? Or maybe they're currently sitting there saying, this isn't where I wanted to be, or they want to make detective and they have to go through these stepping stones. You just do not know. So do not give them the opportunity. The fastest candidates that we see get hired, every one of them have the same thing in common, and that's their hiring official or their background investigator saying, thank you for making this easy for me. Thank you for having all your documents ready. Thank you for being able to set schedules and set appointments quickly. Thank you for showing up on time. These are the things that we see individuals succeed at, and these are the little things, making sure you're on time. That's a simple little thing. Matter of fact, be early, right? Showing up professionally dressed, showing up ready to attack it. And the same thing that those successful candidates have in common too is they're the ones in the wait stage, right? They're the ones that are in the hurry up and wait because they get everything done so quick that the background investigator or the hiring officials that are moving their packets along are waiting to get done everyone else's, and they're the first one done. So they're the ones that might be sitting for 3, 4, even 5 weeks without hearing anything. And they're nervous, they're sweating, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's where you're at right now. And that's why we kind of built the program the way we did for the sheer fact of making sure that you're patient and you're not completely annoying your background investigator by every week sending a follow-up saying, hey, where am I at in the process? Where am I at in the process? Because it's not appropriate and it will annoy them. And these little things add up to so much. So if you don't think so, imagine this. Let's simulate that you're a candidate going through and say say you have a fairly good background, right? You've had a couple tickets in the past. Let's say you've had 4 interactions with law enforcement, and you've had 2 tickets in the past. One of them was approximately 3 years ago. Let's say you have minor substance use, maybe you use marijuana, and we won't say recreationally, but we won't say you experimented with it. So we'll say somewhere, above 20 times, below 50 times, something like that, right? And you've had minor run-ins with law enforcement. All in all, depending on what state you're applying to, right? You might and sound like a pretty good candidate. Maybe your credits, average. You're sitting around let's say above average. Let's say you're sitting around 650 to 700, which is average, slightly above. And you have very minor undetected crimes, and when I say undetected crimes, I mean maybe you trespassed in a building as a kid, right? Maybe you were cutting through someone's property to get to, another place you were going, whatever, right? Something very minor, nothing crazy. So let's say so you have to articulate all those, right? And all those are going to kind of, depending on how you articulate, are going to depend on, hey, do you move forward? Do you not move forward? But all in all, this is not a horrible candidate, right? This is pretty typical stuff you would see. Now, let's take that same candidate, all those issues we just said, right? And let's say they, get stopped by law enforcement, during the hiring process. That could get you removed, right? Even if you get a ticket or don't get a ticket, that could get you removed. Let's say you miss an email. Very simple stuff. You miss an email saying, hey, please get back to me this date with these documents. Let's say you miss that email. That could get you removed. Actually, missing email, never responding unless they follow up with you, which might not ever happen, that could get you disqualified. I know plenty of candidates that were going through the hiring process that got disqualified and removed from the hiring process because they got an email, it went to spam or anything. They were removed. And they say, well, that's BS, and that shouldn't be the case because, they need to know that sometimes emails go to spam. But they tell you in the beginning of the hiring process to make sure you're checking your email every day to include your spam folder, right? Maybe you provided references and your references never responded to your background investigator, right? And then your background investigator reaches out to you out of courtesy, doesn't even have to, reaches out to you and says, hey, none of your references reached out. And then you say, yeah. And then you call your references and they don't answer and you forget about it. And then your references never, send in their report or never call the background investigator back. That's going to get you disqualified. And this isn't meant to scare you. This is just meant to show you these are the things that are so easily controlled. I'm checking in with my references, once every month, once every 2 months if I don't talk to them regularly, right? Making sure and checking in, hey, did you get anything from the department yet? One, because that's a success indicator for me. It's always a great sign when they start contacting references. It is because that is when they're starting to put work in, which means your initial background, just a review where they just go through and make sure there's no huge flags, it passed, right? At least that's a success indicator usually. You can reasonably take that assumption that they're not going to put any work into you until they can reasonably assume you're going to clear the bottom tier level of evaluation. So at that point in time, they reach out to your references, and your references are non-existent. They don't get back to them. It's all this stuff, and I'm not saying each one of these will get you disqualified. I'm saying it can, and I've seen it. So why let it happen when you can be on top of it, right? This is a professional profession. Say that 5 times fast, right? Professional profession, right? This isn't a job; it's a career. So make sure you're doing what you need to achieve it. Because once you get in it, you're not done. And I've said this time and time again, and we have other videos out there. You're not done once you get hired. Then you have the academy. Then you have FTO. Then you have expanding your knowledge and growing as a law enforcement officer, whether that's in special agent, whether that's in patrol, whether that's even detention as a deputy or even corrections. That's even in dispatch, emergency communications. you're growing every single day. You're never done learning. Start building that mindset now. And if you don't, you're going to run into a situation where you might fall under one of these categories that we're mentioning, or one of the multitude of other ones that may be an issue. If they say, I've seen this one recently, they say, hey, these are the questions that we're going to ask you during the board interview. Please study them and come in prepared. Now, that's usually not typically a board interview, but some departments will allow that. Some departments will allow you to even, have notes. Very rare, but they might. And you go in and you do this, you have these questions, and next thing you know, they're like, did you even review the questions? And you glanced at them one time, but you didn't prep because you didn't read the full email saying these will be the exact questions. You thought it was just practice questions. Seen that happen before. There are so many little things that are within your control that make you stand out. I want you to be the candidate that is done first, right? I want you to be the candidate that's done first, and the candidate that's waiting the longest point in time from when you've completed something to when they contacted you, right? Because it means you were done first. If there's 7 candidates going through the polygraph, right, and they have it scheduled, I want you to be the first one scheduled and to get it done and be done with it, right? If you can. Obviously, if you can't take the first appointment because it would mess with work and get you in trouble, don't do that. But I want you in there. I want you to have that. Not having your transcripts, if they require official transcripts, especially if they're not allowing digitally official transcripts where the school sends it directly to them, where you have to have a hard copy, right? A sealed hard copy. If you don't have those on hand, those take months to get. And if you get your background packet and they say your background packet's due in 2 weeks and we need all these documents, you need to find your birth certificate. You need to find your high school diploma. You need to have your official sealed transcripts. You need to have your social security card. You need to have, all your references, all your resident history, all this stuff. And usually you get a week or 2 to fill out this entire PHS, which is, stomping on the floor here as a hint and a tip why we recommend doing a sample PHS before you apply or when you're in the early stages. Get it tuned in, get it set right. You'll be able to use it for the rest of your career. And don't say, I'm never going to need it after I get hired as a police officer. No, you will, because you might lateral or you might do a promotion that requires you to fill out a whole nother online PHS. You never know, right? There's a multitude, as I said before, a multitude of things here that are effective. So getting a sample PHS, having that ready to go. Making it so easy on your hiring official or your background investigators that they say, you know what, if you do have a little hiccup somewhere, right, if you do have a little hurdle, they're more willing to hear you out on it, and you can articulate it and get that chance to articulate it. I've seen candidates never even get the chance to articulate it, and part of that might be because their written articulation when they put it down on their PHS might have just been horrendous, or the background investigator said, you know what, this candidate's been nothing but a struggle since day one. I have all these other candidates here that are not having these issues. I'm just going to say this candidate's no for this go around, and we're going to focus on these other candidates. And it could be as simple as that. And that could be for your dream department, right? Or it could just be for the department that you say, hey, I want to definitely start here and maybe I'll finish my career here. But if not, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years after I get a lot of experience, maybe I'll lateral. Maybe I'll go local to state. Maybe I'll go local to federal. Maybe I'll go special agent, There's a multitude, I'm going to keep saying that word here, of times or things that can change in your mind throughout an entire, 20, 30-year career. But you'll never get to experience it or make those decisions if you don't focus on the little things now, right? And this is going to be helpful for you too in your investigations. Every patrol officer or every initial law enforcement officer that's first on scene or the one making the initial contact with law enforcement, you're doing a preliminary investigation, whether you're a detective or you're in investigations or special agent or anything like that. Even patrol officers are still doing that initial investigation, right, or that preliminary investigation that we call it. So a lot of times you still have to find these minute details, and then when you find those minute details and you pass them up along the line, that makes you look better for promotion potential. but you got to get through the door first. And you're not going to get through the door making a bunch of little mistakes, because ultimately they're going to add up to a larger hurdle. I've seen so many recently, and it's made the point of doing a video like this so critical, because a lot of the things that we're seeing candidates get, removed from the hiring process, either disqualified or non-selected. And that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means that department's not the one that you're going to start with. But we've seen candidates pass with one department and still be going through the hiring process with another department, and because they haven't accepted official offer yet, and then fail with another department right next door, all because they didn't put the same level of detail into the second department as they did the first department. They're like, how's this department saying they don't want me when this department next door just said they did? Which one did you put more effort into? Which one did you pay attention to the smaller details? Which one did you make sure you were ready to go at all times? Which one did you prioritize? And that's going to matter. It's one of the reasons why we say only apply to 3 departments at a time. If you've applied to more than 3 departments and you got 10 open applications out there, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Just at some point in time, you're going to probably run into a situation where you got to pick and choose which one you're going to go to for what thing, because they may overlap, especially if they're all going during the same hiring cycle. A lot of little things can get in your way, but you can control it all. You can make sure that you're prepared, especially for these things. You want the departments sitting around saying, this guy, this gal is on top of it, right? I never have to worry about this candidate making sure that they're getting everything done. If I need something from them, I make a phone call, I send an email, I send a text. It is done. And that's a position you want to be. You want to be the one waiting around for the department to contact you. Something simple as just checking your email every single day, even on the weekends. Just checking it. I recommend twice a day, right? Check it at 10, 11 a.m. and then check it again at 5 p.m. your time, whatever it is. Just make sure that you're ready to go. Check it multiple times a day if you're up for it, but if not, I understand. A lot of little things will make this process smoother and easier for you. And if you stay on top of it, if something does come up, your hiring official, your background investigator is more willing to hear you out and work with you on what they need. Hope this helps. Once again, those gifts are in the description. The Getting Started workshop is going to walk you through every phase of the hiring process. There's some hidden bonuses in there I know you're going to like, as well as a coaching call with any member of my team or even myself if you'd like. Jump on, go over, see if we can go over some of the little things that will make you stand out better. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.